Cops are ridiculous. What is the most suspicious thing you've ever caught somebody doing for a totally legitimate reason? Patrolling a military housing neighborhood, I had noticed a suspicious van parked around the area over the past few nights, always in a different spot, but I could never catch it coming or going. So around the 5th night of this, I hide my car and wait. Sure enough, the van rolls through. I waited a few minutes before following. Turn the corner and light up 3 guys rummaging through all the trash cans left on the street. Turns out, they were part of SID. Think NCIS, the show, but army version. They suspected someone in the area was cooking meth, and were going through that garbage cans to find discarded ingredients. I only found this out after getting chewed out after they called my supervisors. I still don't feel bad. No one told me. Once in the early 2000s, my wife and I were together in the corner of an empty hotel parking lot. Cops pulled up and said the hotel manager reported us as suspicious. We were like, we're just stealing the hotel's wireless internet. He looks in and sees us both with laptops on our laps and a miniature printer on the dashboard. The cop just laughed and said never mind. I was the only one on the block that didn't come out of the house after a neighbor was shot with an AK-47 at about 4:45 am. So my house was suspicious. The cops came over and banged on the door. They thought it was me. I slept through the whole thing. Took the cops quite a while to wake me up. I had no alibi. My roommate slept through it too. Kinda weird. The first one that comes to mind for me, late at night, saw a dude hauling copper pipe out of a local grocery store after it closed down. Copper theft at the time was super common, so I thought I had a burglary in progress. I stop out, get ready for an easy arrest. Ask him what he's doing. He says he was hired to clean the place out. Ask why he's taking the copper. Owner told him that his payment was the copper piping. Since it wasn't going to be a grocery store after, they didn't need it. I didn't buy it for a minute. Bullshit detector was screaming at this point. So I find the owner in our records, call him, and sure as shit, dude was hired to clean the place out and was paid in copper pipe. That was their agreement. But then I asked him why he was out at 2 am, since it was super suspicious. Since the place closed down, there was no AC, as it was the middle of summer. 2 am was the best way to do it and keep cool. I was just starting on the street around the time Pokemon Go was taking off. So many contacts in the middle of the night that were just people trying to catch Pokemon. Me. Mom, I noticed you're driving in circles around this closed business at 3 am person. Yeah, there's a herd of Charmanders here and it's too busy during the day, Mio. Thanks for letting me know. Pulls out phone and opens Go. Here's a story from a family friend who was a sergeant in a major West Coast city. One of his new officers was late for roll call one night. After about 45 minutes, sergeant gets a call from another station asking if he was the sergeant for the missing officer. Hilarity ensues apparently. The missing officer was getting ready to leave his apartment for roll call for the night shift. As he walked out to the stairs, he sees a guy in a ski mask hop through his neighbor's window. Cop radios the burglary in progress and runs back to his apartment to get his shotgun. When he gets back to neighbor's house, he heard a female screaming and the sounds of a struggle. Cop announces himself, kicks open the front door, runs to the kitchen and sees what he thinks is ski mask guy sexually assaulting the neighbor. The neighbor sees cop with shotgun screaming at ski mask guy and she completely freaks out. Turns out ski mask guy was neighbor's boyfriend husband doing some sort of roleplay fantasy at neighbor's request. At least nobody got shot, and apparently, the cop was known thereafter as Officer Cockblock. Son of a cop. My dad told me about a time, back in the 80s, my father was sitting in his cruiser, around the corner from a bar. A car drives by swerving a little with exhaust coming for the tailpipe, signifying a recently started vehicle. Pulls the guy over, smells alcohol on the driver, while also noticing a large staff in the back seat. He has the driver step out, then inquires about the staff. The driver tells my dad, I'm a black belt in Kung Fu. I use it in class. So my father, unconvinced, asks him to demonstrate his proficiency with the staff, whilst proving his sobriety in a sort of impromptu field sobriety test. The driver puts on a little show for dad on the side of the road. Dad's enjoying the show, but starts to hear sirens coming from all directions. A passerby had seen my dad on the side of the road in a face-off with a crazy man and a stick. Thinking my dad was in need of help, the passerby called the cops. Apparently, my dad had been so wrapped up in the show, he had not heard the radio calls for him. So dispatch sent all available units to his rescue. Passerby thought my dad was getting ass kicked by ninja. I find so many suspicious vehicles in our National Veterans Cemetery in my jurisdiction. They almost always turn out to be Pokemon goers. 3 AM on a weeknight and I pull up behind a car at a light. The light is green and the car is stopped but running. Foot was on the brake. Light turns red so I wait behind him. Light turns green again and this dude isn't moving. So my partner and I quietly exit our vehicle and approach his. He was completely passed out, asleep, with the car in drive. We woke him up and talked to him to make sure he wasn't drunk and he was just tired because his wife had a baby a few days ago and needed him to run to the store for something. That newborn sleep deprivation is real. I'm in a local saltwater aquarium club. It has always been a joke that the cops have come to quite a few of our houses when they see grow light in the basement for corals. The cops usually check electric records and show we all have extremely high electricity usage and thus can usually get a warrant to search the place. It's never happened to me but has happened to people I know. Cops usually get a good laugh out of it and are amazed to see the coral growing systems people run. Conclusion: if you wanna grow weed in the basement, grow coral upstairs. I was a suspicious person. Grew up in a rough neighborhood in Australia. Government housing, poverty, crime, etc. 16 years old, I was walking down the street with a mate and carrying a body bag full over my shoulder. This little blue and marked car suddenly does a rapid 180 and pulls up. Two detectives jump out and flash their badges and ask me to see what's in the bag. They laughed so hard when they found it was Blinky Bill, a famous koala cartoon character from books and TV. I'd been wearing the suit. It was hired to promote a kids holiday program we ran in the area. I still regret that my 16-year-old self wasn't witty enough to make a joke about Blinky Bill owing money to the wrong kind of people. I have a relevant one that happened to a friend of a friend. Dude had two huskies and while he was at work they got in a fight and the one killed the other one. His dogs had loved the dog park so he figured he would bury it in the nearby woods. Parks his truck and goes into the trees with a big fucking bag and a shovel. Comes out a while later to a bunch of cops. Turns out there was a kid missing in the area at the time and people at the park had called the cops on him. They made him go back into the woods and dig up the dead dog and show them. Worked campus security for a bit back in college. One night an officer radioed in a possible domestic abuse or robbery. A male and a female behind some random building in some kind of physical altercation. 20 seconds later he came back on the radio and said never mind. They were just being romantic. Edit: robbery not burglary. My husband told me a story of one time when he was patrolling around and he spotted a guy who was in a straitjacket come round the corner of town that he was patrolling. Instantly suspicious. He ran over and grabbed him and asked him what he was doing. He said he was just messing around with it with a friend but he lost his friend and can't get out. So my husband asked to call his friend just in case. And lo and behold he wasn't even lying at it. Oh shit, didn't expect this stupid little story to get a silver XD edit too. By the asked to call his friend I meant that he asked for his phone so he was able to call his friend for him. I'm the person that was doing something suspicious for a totally legit reason. Back in college, my female roommate and one of her female friends got in a rough patch and things boiled over at the local dive bar. They went outside to hash things out and I saw she left her purse behind. I paid both our tabs with my own money and brought her purse outside to give it to her. Well, I guess they made up and their way of celebrating was running through the street yelling at the top of their lungs. So I tried to catch up to them without thinking how it looked. Two drunk girls running and screaming down the street while I, a drunk 6 feet 1 inches, 200 pounds bearded man, is chasing after them with a purse in hand. My girlfriend worked at a haunted house. She was taking some co-workers home. Cop pulls them over, rolls down the window and sees bloodied zombies everywhere. Cop freaks, calls for backup, and they're yelling we work at Horror Hill, IT's alright. He finally got the message. They said he had to catch his breath. He told them he was about to freak out really hard. Went down amiably, however, and everyone had a laugh. Wow, what wacky events. Don't forget to like and sub.